I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's EGGBURT, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
Well, it is the BJ Show, but it's minus J because John has an obligation he has to go to. So I have a co-host. I don't know if she's going to want me to call her a co-host. Jamie Corley. Can I call you a co-host, Jamie? Is that okay with you? I don't. Can you hear me okay, Jamie? Jamie. Hey, Jamie. Hold on a minute. Jamie, do you hear me okay?
Now we're plugged in.
Okay. I'm sorry. That was a mistake on my end. Okay. Do you mind being called a co-host?
I mean, why not?
For those of you who don't know who Jamie is, give everybody a background of where you came from and what you're doing now and sort of the history of Jamie Corley.
Sure. So, born and raised in Missouri, fifth generation Missourian, and long career in politics up in D.C. and then out in California. And then I am back in Missouri, moved back here during the pandemic, and I am the executive director of the Missouri Women and Family Research Fund. But people have probably heard my name because I am running for Secretary of State as a Republican candidate.
Now, why do people, and it's you and I believe, 7 other candidates on the Republican side, why do people run for Secretary of State? Is Secretary of State like, and quite honestly, when I go down to Jefferson City, I've been in the Secretary of State's many offices many times doing trademark things and corporations and stuff like that. Why is the Secretary of State office so popular that all these people are running for it?
Right. So it's a very interesting race from a political strategy standpoint because it's a complete toss-up. We're 9 days out. Early voting has already started, and it's anyone's game. But to answer your question, so the Secretary of State's office probably impacts everyday Missourians' office lives more than any other statewide office. So, and we just don't realize it. So, for example, if you've ever signed a petition for a ballot initiative, so Missourians change the Constitution all the time. It's how we've raised minimum wage, legalized marijuana, abortion will likely be on the ballot in November. That is all run through the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State oversees LLC registrations. So if you have an LLC like I do, that process can be very cumbersome and clunky, and you have to pay lawyers and compliance people to do it for you, or it can be streamlined. And the process for getting a certificate of good standing, et cetera, can be seamless. So again, goes through the Secretary of State's office. When you vote, when you register to vote, when you go to find your polling place, when you actually show up to the polls, that's all run through the Secretary of State's office. So it is a massive, massive office. It is has a lot to do with constituent services. And, my cousin actually also oversees state libraries. So handles all of the funding for state libraries across Missouri. And I had a cousin I was talking to a couple weeks ago, and I think she said it. Gave me a one-liner that I thought was really interesting. She said, and she's somebody who's kind of loved, like so many Missourians do, so many Americans, the really heated rhetoric and the literal flame throwing from both sides of the aisle. And she goes, I don't even want to know who my Secretary of State is. It should just be a job for someone who just goes to work every day and just does the job, just files the paperwork, make sure the libraries are open, make sure it's easy to vote. And so that is, certainly, how I'm campaigning. I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. But just to give you and your listeners an an overview of the Secretary of State's office.
Now, can I ask you a weird question?
Of course.
And once again, I'm the guy that does these interviews and I ask strange questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Having been in the Secretary of State's office many times, the building you're in, what's the name of that building? What's it called? Is there a name for it?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's where I filed, and it is.
Is it the Fitzpatrick building or it's
It's in Jefferson City, obviously.
Right. Well, it's interesting in that it's not in the core area of Jefferson City. It sits off by itself. Matter
It's
of
the
fact,
Kirkpatrick building.
There
Not
you
the
go.
Fitzpatrick. It's Kirkpatrick.
there you go. And it sits off by itself, not too far off of 63 as you come into town.
Right.
And what's interesting to me is you get in the elevator, you go up, and it's one of those cool glass elevators.
Yeah.
And you go up to the third floor. And as you go up to the third floor, you get this beautiful overview of the library. And here's my question.
All the records.
Why is there nobody ever in the library? Every time I've been in that building and I've gone up that elevator, I'm going like, does nobody ever come into this library?
Well, if you are an archivist or if you're someone doing research, that is your go-to. So when I was there were people in the library doing research, but you're right. The Secretary of State is the keeper of the records, the Missouri seal, and that's a big deal. And you're right. If any of your listeners want to take a road trip down to Jefferson City, it is actually a very beautiful building. And if you're a Missouri nerd, my great grandfather helped write the Missouri State Constitution.
Really?
And yeah, and I have a lot of pride for being from Missouri, and that's for any history majors like myself, it is a must go to.
Well, one of the nice things, and this is, in fact, this is like Brad the Nerd kind of stuff. One of the nice things for me is whenever I go to the Secretary of State's office, since you're not in the core downtown area, there's always lots of parking right out in front. And it's, right? I mean, am I kidding or what? I mean, you park right out in front of the building. There's always a space available. You walk 50 feet to the door. You walk another 20 feet to the elevator. You get off the elevator. You make a right. You walk 20 feet and you're in the Secretary of State's office. It couldn't be easier, right?
This is so funny. Missourians love parking close to buildings.
Yes.
I know, this is so funny, Brad. When I was planning my kickoff party, you have no idea how much time my team and I spent vetting locations based on parking availability. And we hosted it at Third Degree Glass Factory in St. Louis, and they have a beautiful parking lot. I don't know if you've ever been, but great, ample parking. And as somebody who has a lot of family members in Missouri, and my 72-year-old dad and all of his siblings, that is a huge deal to Missourians. We made very sure when we sent out our invites to say parking on site, ample parking on site. So, it's a thing in Missouri. So I'm giggling here because during this campaign, I've had many conversations about parking.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a Missouri thing. I think it's a St. Louis thing, maybe other parts of the state as well too, because for a perfect example, that's why I think downtown St. Louis has had a lot of problems, because people don't want to park. They don't want to park in a parking garage. They don't want to park in a lot. They don't want to walk 4 blocks. I mean, let's be honest with you. Most people are to the point where, and quite honestly, I'm going to give you another parallel that you're going to roll your eyes on, but maybe you won't. That's why the malls, I don't think, have sort of gone by the wayside, because you have to park at an entrance, then you have to walk through the entrance. You have to walk into the mall to your store. The current deal is like you go down in downtown, in Chesterfield, in the valley down there. You park in front of the building you want to go to, the store you want to go to. You walk in, you walk out, you're done. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Totally. I mean, that's the way it is. Okay, now, you, as a woman, has there ever been a Secretary of State who is a woman?
Yes, but no Republican women.
Interesting.
So I would be the first Republican woman to hold office in the Secretary of State, which would be, a lot. I just had a big event yesterday uh, in St. Louis, and it was a lot of women who, I'm 37, so a lot of people my age who are really fired up to vote, Republican or Democrat. These are Republicans, but there is tremendous momentum. I love that you just asked me that. There's tremendous momentum, I think, on both sides of the aisle, to, elect women into office, to talk about, I don't call them women issues, I call them family issues, things like access to IVF and childcare and making sure Missouri remains a safe place to live and raise a family. So that's certainly something that I would take a lot of pride in, to be the first Republican female Secretary of State. And I think people are fired up about it. Year of the Woman. I was just reading an article about, it's always the Year of the Woman, but I really think that there's something to that this cycle.
I grew up in a household where I had a very dominant mother. And matter of fact, I've told this story before. John gets a kick out of this, that my mother was like 10 years before women's lib. I mean, my mom was 10 years before Gloria Steinem came onto the scene. And as a result of that, and she was very well educated, as was my father. As a result of that, I've always been attracted to intelligent, educated women who are in charge. Having said that, my mom used to always make a comment. If we went someplace and we got bad service or things didn't go right, my mom would look at me and she goes, "You know what the problem here is, don't you?" And I go, "No." She says, "Some dumb man is in charge." So we need the smart women to run the country, right? Isn't that what we need now? Isn't that what you're telling me, Jamie?
It's funny. I also come from a long line of very, very strong women, well-educated, just really go-getters. And it takes both men and women. I've been lucky that I have had some very, very amazing male mentors in my life, and I've worked for men who have supported me in my career and who are just stand-up amazing men. I will also say that women, we tend to get things done, and especially in an office like Secretary of State's office, where a lot of it is very unglamorous work that is it's just behind the scenes, work for a workhorse, not a show horse. I do think that, a well-run ship usually has women operating it, at least behind the scenes. So I'm with you on that. And I'm with you on that.
Well, my motto in life, and a lot of people think I'm kidding when I say this, whatever a man can do, a woman can do better. How's that?
What is that phrase? Ginger Rogers saying, I danced with Fred Astaire, but I did it backwards and in heels. Right. He was the lead man. Yeah, and she had the dance. He led and she followed backwards at heels, right? Yeah, exactly.
Jamie Corley.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time this morning. Spell your name, because that is your web address, correct?
Yes, my address is Corley, Corley, for Missouri.com.
And Jamie,
I'm Jamie Corley.
And Jamie is people want to just search you and find out more about you. It's Jamie.
That's correct.
And they can find out that. Now, I have to say this, since you are one of 8 candidates running for Missouri Secretary of State, anybody else who is a candidate, bona fide candidate, even if you're not bona fide candidate, if you're some guy that wants to write in for Secretary of State, hey, I'm open to that. Equal opportunity, you can call me at 314-280-8880. That's 314-280-8880. Or you can text me. I'll be more than happy to put you on the air and give you all the time that we just gave to Jamie. How's that for being fair, Jamie?
I actually really appreciate that. I wish more, I really respect that and appreciate that. So kudos to you.
The amazing thing on this is my second go around of running a talk station. And the first station, you probably don't remember this name, a guy by the name of Brian Nieves. Does that name ring a bell to you? at the time,
No, but yeah.
Brian Nieves was a state rep, and he was running for state senator. And he was a Republican. We had tons of Democrats who would send nasty letters to me and complain to the FCC that I wasn't giving equal opportunity. And the crazy thing was, I kept telling everybody, look, if you don't like what Brian's saying, come on the air. And matter of fact, even to the point where Brian even says, you can come on the air with me, and even to the point where one of the candidates complained that his show was a 2-hour show that was, essentially a campaign show for him. And I said, okay, Brian's on the air from 7 to 9. You can come on from 9 to 11 and do 2 hours every day. And they were like, well, I'm not going to do that. I go, well, then don't complain. You know what I mean? I'm giving you the opportunity just like I've given everybody else. Jamie,
there's 9 days left, so
there you
plenty
go.
of time.
Right. There you go. Jamie, appreciate it. Hopefully things go well for you down the campaign trail, and we will be watching carefully. And maybe when I make my next trip down to Jefferson City to straighten out something with one of my LLCs or something like that, when I come into your office, it'll be you on the other side of the plexiglass, which I hate, by the way. But maybe you
That's right.
Maybe you can take down the plexiglass. Jamie, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
That is going to do it for our show this morning because of the fact that John had the bug out a little bit early. We're only going to do 2 segments. Yes, I know people are going, oh, my God, how am I going to get through the day? I don't know. Just deal with it. We'll be back on Monday. It's the BJ Show. Check us out on bjshow.co. That's our website. You want to listen to the shows being archived. It's bjshow.video. Those are all on YouTube. And John does a really good job of breaking the shows down, putting timelines on them, chapters, the whole bit, whatever you want to call it. He does a nice job with it. I will talk to you on Monday.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?